There is a moment in every life when kindness stops working, when honesty brings punishment instead of respect, when emotions become weapons used against you by people who smile while pulling the trigger. If you have ever wondered why the calmest people seem untouchable, why the most dangerous minds never explain themselves, why power often belongs to those who feel less, not more, then this video was not made by accident. Machiavelli understood something most people never will. The world does not reward virtue. It rewards control. This is not a motivational speech. This is a psychological dissection. By the end of this video, you will not feel inspired. You will feel colder, clearer, harder to manipulate. These are 8 dark principles used by rulers, strategists, and silent operators throughout history. Principles that strip away emotional weakness and replace it with composure, discipline, and unbreakable inner power. If you are looking for comfort, leave now. If you are ready for clarity, stay. Introducing the core idea. Most people are emotionally fragile because they are emotionally honest. They react. They explain. They seek validation. Machiavelli warned against this centuries ago. Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims. Emotional exposure creates leverage, and leverage creates control, but not for you. To become unbreakable, you must become less readable, less reactive, less dependent on emotional approval. Cold does not mean cruel. Cold means controlled. Let us begin. Principle 1. Detach emotion from outcome. Most people suffer not because of events, but because of expectations. They imagine fairness. They assume reciprocity. They expect gratitude. And when reality fails to match the fantasy, they collapse. Machiavelli understood this trap well. He observed rulers who were destroyed not by enemies, but by disappointment. The emotionally cold individual does not tie self-worth to results. They act, observe, adjust without emotional investment. Think of a chess grandmaster. They do not mourn a lost piece. They reposition. In modern life, this means refusing to emotionally cling to promotions, relationships, or recognition. You perform your role. You extract lessons. You move forward. Robert Greene reinforces this in the 48 Laws of Power. Emotional responses cloud judgment and betray weakness. When you detach from outcome, fear loses its grip. And fear is what breaks people. Effective affirmation. I act with precision, not desperation. Outcomes do not control me. Principle 2. Say less than necessary. Nothing reveals weakness faster than excessive explanation. People talk when they are nervous. They justify when they feel exposed. Machiavelli advised rulers to remain unpredictable. Silence was not emptiness, it was strategy. He who speaks too much eventually speaks against himself. Every unnecessary word gives others material to analyze, judge, or use against you. In social dynamics, silence creates gravity. People lean in. They project meaning. In power structures, the quiet individual is assumed to know more than they say. This assumption alone creates authority. Observe interviews with powerful leaders. They pause. They answer selectively. They never rush to fill silence. Emotional coldness begins with verbal restraint. Effective affirmation. My silence protects me. My words are deliberate. Principle 3. Never reveal your inner storm. Carl Jung warned that what is unconscious controls us unless we integrate it. But integration does not mean exposure. Most people mistake emotional authenticity for emotional dumping. They vent. They overshare. They bleed publicly. This creates sympathy but destroys respect. The cold strategist experiences emotions deeply, but reveals them selectively. Your pain is not content. Your struggle is not currency. Machiavelli observed that leaders who appeared emotionally shaken invited rebellion. When people sense instability, they test limits. Think of a captain during a storm. If he panics, the crew panics. If he remains composed, fear dissolves. Your calm is contagious. Your chaos is exploitable. Effective affirmation. I feel deeply, but I reveal selectively. Principle 4. Accept that people act in self-interest. This principle alone shatters emotional illusions. Machiavelli was brutally honest. Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous. This is not cynicism. It is realism. Most emotional pain comes from misjudging human nature. We expect loyalty without leverage, honesty without incentive, love without self-interest. The emotionally cold individual does not resent this truth. They account for it. They design boundaries. They build systems. They observe behavior, not promises. Once you stop personalizing betrayal, manipulation loses its sting. People did not hurt you because you were special. They acted according to nature. Understanding this makes you unbreakable. Effective affirmation. I see people as they are, not as I wish them to be. Transition. We have covered 4 principles, but these are only the outer layers. What comes next is deeper, more dangerous, more transformative. Because emotional coldness is not only about defense. It is about dominance over the self. Principle 5. Control your reactions before you try to control anything else. Most people believe power comes from influence. Machiavelli knew it begins with self-mastery. If someone can provoke you, they own you. If words can shake you, you are already compromised. History is filled with leaders who fell not because of weak armies, but because of uncontrolled reactions. Anger made them predictable. Ego made them reckless. Machiavelli warned rulers to never act in the heat of emotion, because emotion reveals intention. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. But deception starts internally. You must deceive your impulses first. The emotionally cold individual pauses. They allow the first emotional wave to pass. Then they respond, not react. In modern life, this looks like refusing to argue when insulted, not explaining when misunderstood, not reacting when tested. Silence after provocation is terrifying to those who seek control, because it tells them, you do not move me. Effective affirmation. I govern my reactions. No one commands my inner state. Principle 6. Become comfortable with being misunderstood. One of the most painful emotional dependencies is the need to be understood. People crave recognition of intent. They want credit for their motives. Machiavelli dismissed this entirely. Powerful individuals are often misunderstood and unbothered by it. Why? Because clarification weakens mystery, and mystery is power. When you explain yourself, you lower your position. You seek approval. You invite judgment. Robert Greene echoes this. The more you say, the more likely you are to say something foolish. Cold individuals allow others to interpret freely. They do not rush to correct assumptions unless strategically necessary. Think of historical figures who were labeled cruel, distant, or heartless. Many survived precisely because they did not waste energy defending their image. Reputation is shaped by results, not explanations. Effective affirmation. I do not need to be understood to be effective. Principle 7. Withdraw attention to regain power. Attention is emotional currency, and most people give it away recklessly. They chase validation. They seek reaction. They overinvest emotionally in people who offer nothing in return. Machiavelli understood withdrawal as a tactic. Absence creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates leverage. When you remove attention, people fill the silence with assumptions, often fearful ones. This is why emotional coldness is so destabilizing to others. It breaks expected patterns. In relationships, the one who can walk away emotionally holds the advantage. Not through cruelty but through independence. Carl Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. When you no longer need emotional reassurance, your presence becomes optional, and therefore valuable." Cold does not chase. Cold observes. Effective affirmation. My attention is selective. I give it where it is earned. Principle 8. Build an inner world no one can touch. This is the core, the final layer. Most people live externally. Their mood depends on messages, reactions, outcomes, praise. That is fragility. The emotionally unbreakable individual builds an inner citadel, a mental structure independent of chaos. Machiavelli admired rulers who were steady amid instability, not because they were emotionless, but because they were anchored. This inner world is built through solitude, discipline, and self-dialogue. You learn to sit with discomfort. You stop outsourcing meaning. Jung believed that individuation, becoming whole, required separation from collective expectations. When your identity is self-defined, nothing external can dismantle it. Loss becomes information. Criticism becomes noise. Chaos becomes terrain. This is emotional coldness at its highest form, not numbness but sovereignty. Effective affirmation. My inner world is fortified. External chaos does not penetrate. Transition to final integration. You now understand the architecture, but knowledge alone does not transform. Most people will hear these principles and nod, then return to emotional habits. The difference between observers and operators is application. In the final part, we will integrate all 8 principles into a single psychological framework. And then close with a warning Machiavelli himself would approve of. Because once you become emotionally cold, you cannot return to innocence. Integrating the 8 principles into one unbreakable mindset. Most people treat these principles as techniques. That is why they fail. Machiavelli did not teach tricks. He taught orientation, a way of seeing the world as it is, not as it should be. Emotional coldness is not something you turn on and off. It is the natural result of clarity. Let us integrate what you have learned. Detachment from outcome removes fear. Silence removes exposure. Emotional concealment removes leverage. Realistic views of human nature remove betrayal. Reaction control removes manipulation. Comfort with misunderstanding removes insecurity. Withdrawal of attention restores balance. And the inner citadel removes dependence. Together, these form psychological sovereignty. This is what most people sense but cannot name when they encounter someone powerful. Nothing sticks. Nothing rattles them. Nothing pulls them off center. They are not lucky. They are trained. Imagine walking into a room where tension is high. Egos are fragile. Everyone is competing silently. Most people adjust themselves to the room. They mirror emotions. They absorb stress. The emotionally cold individual does the opposite. They bring their internal climate with them. They sit without rushing. They listen more than they speak. They react slower than expected. Within minutes, the room adjusts to them. This is dominance without aggression. Control without force. Machiavelli wrote, "It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles." Power is presence, not performance. Now, a truth few channels will tell you. This path has a price. Emotional coldness creates distance. You will be misunderstood. You will be labeled detached, arrogant, or unfeeling. Some people will leave when they can no longer access your emotions. Others will test you harder. This is not a failure. It is filtration. Machiavelli warned rulers that it is better to be feared than loved, if one must choose. Not because fear is noble, but because it is stable. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be unbreakable. Once you see emotional manipulation clearly, you cannot unsee it. Once you stop reacting, people will attempt to provoke you differently. Coldness attracts projection. People will assign motives to you that reflect their own fears. Do not correct them unless necessary. Do not defend yourself emotionally. Remember, he who builds on the people builds on mud. Machiavelli, build on discipline. Build on self-command. Build on inner order. Powerful summary of all 8 principles. Detach emotion from outcome. Expectation creates fragility. Say less than necessary. Silence preserves power. Never reveal your inner storm. Composure commands respect. Accept human self-interest. Realism prevents betrayal. Control reactions. Provocation is a test. Be comfortable misunderstood. Mystery creates authority. Withdraw attention strategically. Absence resets dynamics. Build an inner world. Sovereignty makes you untouchable. These principles do not make you cruel. They make you free. If this video sharpened your perception, let it be known. Like the video, not for approval but for alignment. Subscribe if you are committed to discipline over comfort. Comment which principle unsettled you the most. Because the one that disturbed you is the one you need most. The world is loud, emotional, reactive. Those who master themselves move quietly through it, untouched. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Now you do too. Remain calm. Remain observant. Remain unbreakable.